Hey everyone, John here from Sonic Drive Studio. I hope you're all doing well. Today we're going to take a look at my brand new Gibson Les Paul Standard 60s. Check it out! I've been really bitten by the Gibson bug lately, as you can probably tell if you watch this channel more often. After months of saving and getting rid of gear, I was finally able to buy one of my dream guitars, my Gibson Les Paul Custom. I recently did a review and demo of that guitar, which you can watch up here and down here as well. Do check it out if you're interested. It's a great guitar and it was a fun video to make. But I also got this Les Paul Standard. But before we dive in, let's take a listen to some crunchy classic rock and roll riffs through my Marshall SC20H JCM 800 Studio and a York Audio MRSH 412 M25 cab, also going through my RedSeven Amplification Amp Central. Here we go. Alright, that sounded really awesome. A Les Paul through a Marshall, now that's a hard combo to beat. Let's also take a quick listen to some isolated guitars. Now, I have owned a bunch of Gibsons over the years. A couple of Les Paul Classics from the 2000s, a Les Paul Faded, a Les Paul Menace, an Explorer with EMGs, and then also later a Les Paul Custom that I really loved. I really regretted selling that guitar, and that's one of the reasons why I got my newer Les Paul Custom. And then later also a Les Paul Classic from 2015. You may have seen that guitar on the channel, but I did sell it in order to be able to afford this guitar. Now, a couple of years ago, I did not have any Gibsons at all anymore, and I couldn't help but feel like there was something missing from my guitar collection. So I got that Les Paul Classic from 2015 in a trade, and even though it was a great guitar, it was somewhat of a weird Les Paul with some weird features going on. So it never really scratched that Les Paul itch for me, and certainly not that sort of more classic Les Paul itch. And then when I got my Gibson Les Paul Custom, I was watching various videos online about the newer Gibson Les Paul Standard models. And that just got me really excited because it looked like the new Gibson was just doing a lot of things right. The new management of Gibson seems to be a great upgrade, but I just really like what they're doing with the models in terms of features and looks and all that stuff. It's back to basics basically, and that's not a bad thing, especially not with iconic guitars like these. I was the most interested in the Les Paul 60s, which I have over here, of course, and that mostly because of the slimmer neck profile, the 60s neck, and also the slightly hotter pickups. I'm going to talk more about this in a minute, but note that I did swap out the pickups for something else. And the iced tea burst finish seemed so beautiful to me, so that's the one that I chose. Look at this beautiful, beautiful top. Now, some videos on YouTube were pretty critical about some of the cosmetic flaws that some of the newer Gibson Les Pauls seem to have, and rightfully so. but I was still very curious and excited to try one out for myself. And to be honest, I also read a lot of positive reviews about these newer models. So yeah, I was basically expecting great things, and I was just very excited in general. Now what I ended up doing was basically contact Gibson themselves. They have an HQ over here in the Netherlands, and they actually invited me over to their showroom, which was a great experience. Good people are working over there, and I was able to pick up this guitar with a small discount. Overall, I'm really happy with this guitar. For me, it ticks all the boxes and it definitely scratches that itch. It's not completely flawless, but I'm not one to nitpick really. I'm not really like that, but I know that some of you really care about those details, so we will get into that later in the video. Now let's check out all the features of this guitar first and also listen to some more musical demos. So as I said, this is the 60s standard model in iced tea burst. It's such a beautiful guitar. It looks so classy and classic. I really like that. We have a two-piece mahogany body with no weight relief, so just a solid mahogany body. This still isn't a very heavy guitar though. I mean, it's got some weight, but it's not super heavy. But the actual wood sounds really good acoustically, so it has a very resonant and open sound. It just really breathes basically. In person, it sounds really good even when unplugged, and that's a great thing. Some of the older standards that I've played over the years were a bit heavier and more dense, but they did not sound as open and resonant as this one, so I'm really pleased about that. And this Les Paul sounds and feels quite different from any other Les Paul that I've ever played, to be honest. And maybe this sounds a little bit weird, but this guitar actually feels and sounds as if it's a bit of an older guitar actually. It almost feels as if it's a vintage instrument. Now the looks probably have something to do with it because this finish looks quite vintage, but the nitro finish just also feels really smooth in the hand, not sticky at all, which is great because some of the older Les Pauls that I've played were really sticky on the neck. And the smell of this guitar is also very nice. Gotta love that smell. Now we have this beautiful AA grade flamed maple cap with binding of course, and a mahogany neck with a rosewood board. And a Gravtech nut. And the 60s neck profile is very fast and quite thin actually, so super comfortable to play. I heard that the 50s model has a bit of a chunkier neck, but this one definitely is very comfortable. On the headstock we've got Grover Rotomatic tuners, these metal ones, but the 50s standards have those vintage deluxe Keystone tuners. So that's also one of the differences between the 60s and the 50s models. We've got 22 medium jumbo frets on the neck, they play fine to be honest. And they also seem to be leveled very well, which is great. Now they have these Plek machines in the factory that do a great job of leveling the frets. I was able to get the action very nice and low without any real fret buzz, and that's a great thing and very important to me. The fretwork just has to be good, especially for this money. And the frets are also rounded off very nicely, so it's just very comfortable to play indeed. Then we have the golden top hat volume and tone controls over here. Those are also different on the 50s standard models, by the way. And we also have the ABR1 bridge and a cream pickguard. But I think that you guys probably already know all of these features, right? So now let's talk about the pickups. Stock from the factory, this guitar came with the Burstbucker 61 pickups. Now I have owned some of the older Burstbucker models in the past, and I've also played some of the older Burstbucker models. I think the Burstbucker Pros and the Burstbucker 2s or something. I'm not sure exactly which ones. But unfortunately, these pickups just weren't for me. And I basically noticed that straight away when I plugged this guitar into an amplifier. I'm definitely not saying that they are bad, not at all, but they just didn't work for my style and what I needed to get out of them. I basically need my Les Paul to be a very versatile instrument, and the stock pickups just didn't do that for me. The Burstbucker 61s have a very vintage sound overall, and a lot of guys on YouTube do make them sound absolutely great, especially for clean and classic rock tones. But as soon as I tried them with some heavy and chunky rock, especially in drop D, the low chords just got really mushy and muddy sounding. And the pickups just had a very bright sound overall. Now, bright isn't a bad thing per se for pickups, but to me they also just lacked some balls and bigness in the low end, but also a sort of tight low end. But luckily with pickups that's not an issue at all, since you can just swap them out yourself. And I even learned how to solder especially for this. So I took some Seymour Duncans out of one of my older guitars, my ESP LTD Elite Eclipse 1 to be exact. And that's a JB pickup in the bridge position and a 59 in the neck position. And I just put them in here. And luckily, it sounds much, much better for me. Still very recognizable sounding as a Les Paul and still very classic sounding, but just a better all-round sound that's also better suited for heavier styles. I mean, come on, all of my guitars at the very least need to be able to do some heavy rock. And again, they might work absolutely fine for you, the stock Bursbacher 61 pickups, but this is just about my personal preference. And I think that you can't go wrong with a set of Duncans, especially not the JB and the 59. Now, I decided not to feature the stock pickups in this video at all, since I just want to use this guitar in a way that I'm comfortable with, but there are already a bunch of videos on YouTube with the stock pickups that you can enjoy. But just keep in mind that if you like heavier styles of music, that they may not work well for you. And by the way, if you're interested, the stock pots in this guitar are 500K. Maybe that's good to know if you want to swap out the pickups yourself. Now, as you heard in the intro, the Seymour Duncan JB is just great for classic rock tones, but the 59 in the neck is also great for delicate clean tones. So let's take a listen to that through my orange TH30H on the clean channel, going through the York Audio FTWN 212D120 cabinet. Here we go. And now also some isolated bits. That sounded really good. Pretty warm sounding and round, but still with plenty of clarity. So the JB in the bridge is also great for heavier rock styles. So let's try that out with some heavy rock and also tune this guitar to drop D. And we're going to do that through my PRS MT15 on the lead channel through the York 212 M65 cabinet. Here we go. Plenty of girth, bite and clarity there. I think that this JB pickup just sounds great for any distorted tone basically, and especially for heavy rock. But it still really sounds like a Les Paul, so it still has that classic Les Paul sound in my opinion. Now let's also check out some quick isolated riffs. So as you heard in all the clips, this guitar is quite versatile and it also sounds really good. For me it ticks all the boxes and I'm just very happy with it overall, aside from the stock pickups. However, if you do take a closer look, there are some small flaws to be found. As I said, not a deal breaker for me, not at all, but I know that some of you really care about this stuff. The neck has some tool marks on the binding, and here and there we also have some minor finish flaws, like on the edge of the headstock and on the nut. Purely cosmetic. And I also did notice that the screw underneath the pickguard left a ding on the finish under here, so that's also not great, but I heard that this is a very common thing with Gibson Les Pauls. Luckily, I'm a pickguard on type of guy. I just like the looks of the Les Paul with the pickguard on it. But for someone who wants to remove their pickguard, that's not a good thing at all. And that may even be a reason to send it back to the store for someone like that, to be honest. Now again, just to repeat myself, I don't really mind these issues since I love the most important things about this guitar very much. It looks great, it sounds great, and it plays great. So for me, that's all I need basically. But if you pay around 2,500 euros for a guitar like this, you at the very least have the right to know about these things. For me, this guitar is an absolute keeper though. I really love this instrument already so much. It has the looks, it has the mojo, it has the feel, and it has the tone. It has anything that I need from a more classic Les Paul. And I'm going to use this guitar a lot, so it will get more dings in the future anyway. That's how I choose to look at it anyway. And I'm probably going to use this guitar more for more classic and clean tones and more mid-gain and low-gain tones. Also my Les Paul Custom of course, but I feel that that guitar is a little bit better suited for stuff like metal. That's just a great Gibson combo to have in your collection basically, so I'm super happy with these guitars. Of course, this guitar also came with a case and some case candy like a tool and a strap, etc. Mine didn't come with the factory photo and the checklist for some reason, probably because of the fact that my guitar came straight from the showroom, but keep in mind that yours should come with a photo out of the factory and the checklist as well. So again, I'm very pleased with this guitar. I think that from now on this will be one of my main guitars, especially for low gain and crunchy mid-gain tones. But it also obviously sounded great for the heavier style, so I'm very excited to see what else I'm gonna do with this beast. I'm a Les Paul fan, and this Les Paul basically scratches my itch for that more classic looking, sounding, and feeling Les Paul experience. It's not completely flawless, so keep that in mind when you order one. It might have some small cosmetic flaws like mine has as well, but it's up to you to decide how much that matters. That's all for this video. Let me know in the comments down below what your thoughts are on this guitar. Also, please hit subscribe and the like button down below, as that really helps the channel out. I'd hugely appreciate that. And you can also follow Sonic Drive Studio on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Cheers!